Erin, why do you think it was important to share your story?
I think there are a lot of different stories out there. Um, but I want people to know that they're not alone. Going through the process, in the beginning, I remember talking to some other birth moms or um, afterwards healing and doing some of not Zoom, but in person meetings actually helped to heal. And I think it's important that people know there are options, and you're not alone and you have people to talk to. And there are some people who are not as open. And I've been so fortunate. I was literally just thinking about this. Like all of your stories just amaze me. Just to meet people over the last 11 years and to hear different stories and different perspectives. And even though the stories are different, the strength and the courage that I see, it isn't about any of us. It's about our kids. It's about what's best for them. And I personally, I people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's so amazing." I'm like, "No, it's not. You don't know the tears I cry. You don't know the hurt. You don't know some days when I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." Oh, you know, but to know that I'm not alone, to know that my son's not alone, I think that that's important. And to know, like, when I'm having those tough moments, to think of all of you and be like, "Oh my gosh, like look at these kids and where they are and the stories and the bonds that we can share." So I think it's important that people on both sides know, and to know that it's not, open adoption isn't as scary as it appears. It does appear scary, and I could definitely see from the other side where you're like, they're going to tell me what to do, and they're, no, we don't want to tell you what to do. It's, a reason we can't raise this child for whatever our different reasons are, and we want to share this with you, um, because we want to give to you something that we maybe can't handle for whatever reasons, financial, emotional, physical, whatever. So I think that's important, um, just to know and to have that connection. So you guys are all amazing. Yay.
You are too.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Charisse, how about you? Why do you think it's important to share your story?
Um, being, I will say this, being a younger mom, I'm definitely frowned upon because it's like, hey, you're young, you can still do what you want to do. But me telling my story, it makes other people get a different perspective of life. Everyone's not the same. We all have our own reasoning for why we did what we did. And like I said, I'm grateful, I'm happy, I'm ecstatic with the decision that I made. My story has been out. I don't even call it a story anymore. I call it a testimony. Because, man, listen, if you guys knew some of the things that I went through between 2011, 10, let me say 10 to now, you guys probably all will be in tears, needing a whole box of tissue. But my story differs from the next, but we all share the same story. And I am completely thankful and to know that there are other moms and birth dads that have gone through the same thing I did. We all just did it at different times because we all take time doing things that we have to do.
Yeah.
How about you, Tasha? Why do you think it's important to share your story?
TJ, it's called mutual aid. We get together, we can provide mutual aid to each other. That's the good thing. That's the positive thing. But I think I like to tell my story to provide hope for people, to give them strength and hope and let them know, like, I was in the gutter, you know what I'm saying? For the last 5 years of my 15 years of addiction, I was in abandoned houses. I was getting high with dead rats. I was losing my mind. Okay. I didn't talk to people. I was losing my mind. Okay. So just to give somebody some strength and some hope, you know what I'm saying? That you can do that. Like if you got to put that baby up for that, you got to do what you gotta do, you know what I'm saying? So that you could continue on to get yourself to a better place, so that you can climb Maslow's hierarchy, so you can learn nurturing and loving and reach self-sufficiency, you know. So it wasn't easy, but I will tell you that I ran with a crowd of women that, every year, bam, I'm just leaving them in the hospital. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt like my population that I was in at that time was keeping foster care and child protection and service. You know what I'm saying? And there wasn't no good stories from a lot of kids that I've been in contact with about foster care. So even though I was in addiction and I was all messed up in my mind, I felt that I was doing something positive for my child by not leaving her in the hospital, by not putting her in the system, by not giving my grandmother a burden that she could not take care of right at the time, by not placing my child on somebody that couldn't take care of him. So I put her where she had to be. And if I have to tell that story, I will tell it all the time. And I do. And I will say this one more time. I will say this: if adoption agencies had outreach, if they could come out onto the street and actually talk to these women and be with these women and prevent these women from leaving them babies in the hospital, it would be a lot more happy families.